Alright, so here I am again in Angel. I'm going to go to Lessons and Weekly Lessons. Let's look at Week 6. Everything now is housed in Angel completely. We're going to finish the literature analysis. It's going to pop up right there. You can do that by watching The Birthmark and A Wall of Fire Rising. The videos are online. They're ready to go. As for the agenda, we're going to define poetry terms and provide an example. These are the terms. This is a Word file, so you can type right on here if you'd like to. And we want to find these definitions as they refer to poetry. Now, as far as the rhyme, it gets a little bit tricky here. You have end rhyme and you have internal rhyme. But then you have three different styles. You have perfect rhyme, half rhyme, and I rhyme. So make sure you're adding the word rhyme to those when you're looking them up. Watch the Frost video explication. This is pretty cool. We're going to explicate poetry, and he does it pretty well. Read over guidelines for the poetry explication. Let's cover these. So before delivering an explication, what we want to do is the research. Start with vocabulary. Define all unfamiliar words. Then we want to summarize. Who's involved? What happens? Where does the dramatic action intensify? When was the poem written? Does that affect the context? You know, some of these poems that were written in the 1700s, you might scratch your head and go, well, why didn't she just leave him? Because she can't. How does the ending resolve? The ending of the poem should bring some resolution. Not all of them will, but hopefully that's what we get. And then you want to start scouring the poem for some terms, as you see right here. Afterwards, the delivery of the explication comes later, and we'll get to that as the time comes. Alright, so we have Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds. This is the first poem we're going to read. It is on page 827. You can look over the sample Shakespeare explication. I have done this one. If the poem only has one stanza, then try to break it up so that you're dealing with 5 lines at a time. This one was all one stanza. So I broke it up lines 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 14. And then define the terms. Explain what's happening in that little chunk of information. You get down to the end here, you see where I found some of the devices. Remember, I'm not looking for every single device. Things that perhaps the poet is either consistently utilizing or maybe something that was just so astronomically amazing you had to put it in there. Like this consonants to alliteration. Sickles, compass, come. So we have consonants with sickles and compass, and then we have compass and come. Just 3 words, 2 different devices, and it still makes sense. At last, you want to give what is called the atonement. Here is where you take the poem and you try to discuss its literary value. Not easy. This should be a deep thought. Okay, so you're going to want to complete the poetry explication for all of these poems here. Just make sure you have a good idea of what's going on in each poem, because it's really up to you for the final exam. I've also embedded some audio here. You can listen to The Ruin Maid. That's a tough poem to read because of the dialect. Your homework for the week is to link to an image of 2 poetry terms. So we'll go back into the terms again, like so. Now these have already been defined. Hopefully you found an example and written it down. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go and find an image of 2 of these. So I just started with the first one, alliteration, and I went onto the internet and I found this picture of alliteration. It's basically a repetition of the same consonant sound at the beginning of the word. So then I'll just copy the URL and I will go into the Dropbox. There it is, poetry term image. Paste the URL. Paste it again. Wow, it's big. Now because the URL is so big, what I'm going to do is cut out the URL and I'm going to type in the word alliteration. Here's a little trick. Highlight it. Go to the insert edit web link. Paste that big huge URL right there, and then target, not the store, new window blank. Okay, all done. There's your link. It'll open in a new window and I will see your picture. Do this twice for 2 different terms. Have a great week.